And we're back with more breaking news, this time about a major American automaker stopping down production as car prices are already sky high.
It began with silence. On a Detroit factory floor, once alive with the hum of assembly lines, the machines shut down. Workers looked around in disbelief. The announcement had landed. General Motors was halting production once more. This time, it wasn't a recession. It wasn't a chip shortage. It was a calculated move by America's largest automaker to shut down major plants nationwide. Thousands of jobs vanished, communities left reeling, and behind it all, the clashing voices of two giants, GM CEO Mary Barra and former President Donald Trump, the figurehead of economic nationalism. GM's statement was stark and unambiguous. The company was suspending operations at several locations and cutting thousands of jobs, all to accelerate its shift to electric vehicles. The layoffs started in Ontario, Canada, where the CMI plant that produced electric delivery vans went dark. More than 1,200 workers sent home. Hundreds of Canadian auto workers now face unemployment. In Michigan, close to 200 more were laid off at Factory Zero. The production line for EVs, vehicles once seen as the future, came to a stop. GM described it as a temporary pause, part of a retooling phase for next-gen EVs. But what remained unspoken said more than the official line. Not everyone would be returning. When production resumes, it will run with just one shift instead of 3. Nearly 500 jobs may be gone for good. This is the real price of transformation. Before we go further, hit that like button to help us beat the algorithm and show your support. Then Trump responded. He labeled GM's move a betrayal. Standing before a thunderous crowd, Trump did what he does best. Turn a corporate choice into a national flashpoint. He slammed GM for turning its back on American workers and threatened a 25% tariff on any vehicle not made on U.S. soil. The auto industry felt the blow as his 25% tariff on imported car parts took effect over the weekend. His words landed like a hammer. Markets recoiled, investors panicked, and automakers scrambled. GM had already begun internal damage control. They cut profit forecasts, warning the tariffs could cost them up to $5 billion. The company also announced over $5 billion in losses and write-downs due to its China joint venture restructuring. CEO Mary Barra cautioned that GM would need to overhaul its supply chain. They withdrew their earnings forecast entirely, citing too much volatility to offer a reliable outlook. On the factory floor, echoes of 2018 returned, when Trump blasted GM for announcing 5 plant closures and 14,000 layoffs. Back then, GM called it efficiency. Now it's survival. Before we go further, make sure to hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Trump's new tariffs aren't just economic figures. They're political weapons, a 25% tax on all imported vehicles. No exceptions, no leniency. And he's warned that if Canada, Mexico, or the EU strike back, he'll escalate further. In Windsor, Ontario, Stellantis had to shutter its minivan plant. 4,500 workers laid off. In Mexico, another 2,500 jobs gone. In the U.S., nearly 1,000 Stellantis employees in Michigan and Indiana furloughed because parts couldn't move freely across borders. With Trump announcing fresh tariffs this week, Stellantis workers are bracing for the worst. The company confirmed Thursday it is temporarily laying off 900 employees at 5 U.S. plants. This is the beginning of a ripple effect. Auto suppliers in the Midwest are getting hammered. Shipments delayed. Orders canceled. Tool and die shops that made it through the pandemic are now struggling to survive a tariff war. Thousands more layoffs are on the horizon. Unions are outraged. Flavio Volpe, head of Canada's Auto Parts Manufacturers Association, says 10,000 to 12,000 workers are off the job due to the shutdown domino effect, and that may be a low estimate. This isn't just economic strain. It's economic trauma, and consumers won't be shielded from the fallout. Analysts are warning that car prices could jump by thousands of dollars. Buyers are already flooding dealerships, trying to lock in current prices before inventory runs out. But once those lots are empty, it's game over. And while GM puts on a brave face, talking about green energy and EV innovation, the truth on the ground is far grimmer. These workers aren't losing their jobs because they failed. They're losing them because the world shifted. And the policies shaping that shift are tearing apart the foundation that once made America's auto industry great. In the UK, electric vehicle mandates have quietly been rolled back, giving automakers breathing room amid Trump's escalating trade war. The British government announced it would ease EV sales targets to help domestic manufacturers survive the blowback from U.S. tariffs. The European Union issued threats of retaliation. Japan and South Korea are on edge. Global automakers are now rethinking whether the U.S. is still a viable investment destination. This is no longer a local issue. It's a global earthquake, and GM is right in the epicenter. Mary Barra walked into the White House for a high-stakes closed-door meeting with Trump's advisors. Inside, tensions were high. Trump demanded more domestic production. Barra pushed back with data, projections, and a sobering dose of reality. GM isn't offshoring to cut costs. It's shifting to build EVs where the critical materials are. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, these minerals don't come from Michigan. They're sourced from Congo, Australia, and South America. The EV supply chain is different. The production model is global, and Trump's America First doctrine doesn't fit it. GM insists it's investing in America. Battery plants in Nevada, Tennessee, and Michigan are underway. But this transition isn't a flip of a switch, and Trump's tariffs could slow or even derail some of these investments. For workers, voters, and families, none of that matters. What they see is a lost paycheck, a missed mortgage, and an uncertain future. And for Donald Trump, it's a stage. He has turned GM from a symbol of innovation into a poster child of betrayal. And in an election year, symbols matter. The coming months will be critical. GM must pivot fast, faster than policy, faster than politics, faster than a fractured supply chain. If it can't, the consequences could be historic. The American auto industry isn't dying. It's being redefined in real time. The battle lines are drawn. Trump has his message, GM has its mission, and the workers have everything to lose. This is the future, and it isn't slowing down for anyone. The tension has now reached Capitol Hill. Lawmakers from both parties are grappling with the fallout. Some are proposing targeted relief for displaced workers. Others are calling for tighter rules linking federal subsidies to domestic manufacturing. Behind the scenes, economists are issuing quiet warnings. If America's policies are built on punishment instead of partnership, the North American supply chain may splinter permanently. Meanwhile, Wall Street is spooked. GM stock plummeted, wiping out billions in market value. Analysts downgraded it, citing uncertainty around production, inflationary pressures, and rising political risk. Consumers are also paying the price, literally. Fewer choices. Higher sticker prices. The electric revolution, once billed as a leap into a prosperous future, now resembles a high-stakes standoff. And in the middle of it all, real families are making painful choices. Some are pulling their kids out of college to save cash. Others are postponing retirement. Businesses near the shuttered factories are watching foot traffic disappear. The real cost of this disruption isn't just economic, it's deeply personal. As the world watches GM's gamble and Trump's retaliation unfold, one truth is undeniable. This isn't just a story about cars. It's a story about identity. About what it means to work, to build, and to belong in a rapidly changing America. The outcome of this conflict won't just shape the future of one company. It may shape the future of an entire workforce, an industry, and a generation's idea of economic security. The road ahead is long and filled with potholes. But somewhere along that road, buried beneath the politics, the layoffs, and the uncertainty, a new version of American industry is trying to take shape. Whether it runs on gas, lithium, or raw political will, that's a question only time can answer.